Hi guys, my name is Laura Valenti and I'm a photographer. This is my little home studio, spare bedroom in my home where I do all of my work and all of my photographic printing. And I thought I would just take you along on a little printing journey with me today because I got a print order on my website the other day, and so I want to just sort of talk you through the materials I use, the papers I use, and my test printing process, and everything I do to then package the print and get it ready for this lovely collector to send it to her. So the print that was ordered from my site was this photograph. It's a photograph that I took of my friend's hand, and it's in Antigua, Guatemala. It's this really beautiful hotel that was a convent previously, and so it has just all these amazingly beautiful details from when it was this gorgeous convent. Beautiful walls, beautiful vines, it's just out of this world. So this image really means a lot to me. I was kind of going through a hard time when I made it, and just her beautiful hand reaching out. It feels like I look at this image and I think hope. It just sort of feels like reaching out towards hope and, you know, believing that that still exists even when you're going through kind of a challenging period. It's just, yeah, it's close to my heart. So I got this print order and she wants a 10 by 10 print. So the first thing I did was I printed it before this video on just some really cheap paper, because I haven't printed it for a while, so I wanted to make sure that my tones were exactly where I want them and it looks perfect before I print it on the final gorgeous archival, you know, thick, heavy, beautiful paper. So I just always do a little test print if it's been a while since I've printed it. So this, you can probably see, it's like a really thin, flimsy paper. This is what it is. It's the Epson Ultra Premium Presentation Matte. And it sounds like it's a super fancy paper, but it's really not. And you can get it in these big boxes for pretty cheap. I can't remember what I paid for all of that paper. It's been a long time, but yeah. So I'm ultimately going to print this photograph on a matte piece of paper, and so I wanted to print it for my test on this Epson matte paper. If I were printing on a glossy or luster paper for my final print, I might do a test print on some cheap Epson glossy paper. Honestly, I'm more likely to just do it on this paper too because it's just easy and I've got a ton of it, but I like doing a test print first. I want something affordable. Okay, so the paper that I'm going to make a big print on is this really beautiful Hahnemühle fine art paper, matte fine art. This is the Photo Rag Bright White. You can see right there, Photo Rag Bright White. And it's just a really nice paper for those gorgeous poppy kind of bright white tones. So I'm going to pop one of these pieces of paper in the printer, and I'll show you what it looks like when we come up with a print. Okay, here's our print, fresh off the press. I'm really happy with it. I really like the slight sepia tone. I like the texture of this paper. There's a little bit of nice texture, but it's not over the top. And the bright whites really pop nicely. So yeah, this paper is gorgeous. I'm happy with it. I'm going to show you a close-up of the texture of the paper in a minute. But basically, I printed a 10 by 10 on this 13 by 19 inch paper. And So now I'm gonna trim it. I just really like having a trimmed print, and I usually leave about a 1/4 inch all the way around, and then I sign my images on the back, not on the front. I know that a lot of people sign their images on the front, but to me that feels like more pressure because I have to get my signature perfect, you know? And somehow if it's on the back, I just feel like I can relax a little bit more. I also have a little bit of a tremor in my writing hand, my left hand. So yeah, I get stressed out when I'm signing on the front of the print. So anyway, I'm gonna sign it on the back and I'm gonna trim it. And I'm gonna show you what I do for trimming. Okay, so here is the trimmed print, and I usually leave about this much on there. It's like maybe 1/2 inch, 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, somewhere in there. And I like to leave that amount of space on there so that people can do their matting if they mat it when they frame it, you know? And so that it just there's a little space to handle the print. That's nice. And yeah, there needs to be something to go underneath the mat, right? So the mat holds it in place. So I like to leave just a little bit of room for that. And yeah, that's the finished print. So I want to show you the beautiful texture of this paper. I don't like papers that are really, really toothy, you know, with like a lot of that watercolor texture. I just like kind of a little subtle texture there. You can see it, I think, pretty nicely. But yeah, it's just a little bit of subtle texture. And it has a really nice heavy weight to it. It just feels kind of nice and weighty. Yeah, I'm really happy with that. So I always put my prints in a plastic sleeve. This one's a little bit bigger, but that's okay. I'll just protect it nicely when I pop it in the mail. And then I also include a little note thanking them for adding my print to their collection. I'll include a handwritten note too. You know, just little nice touches like this I think are important. So a little handwritten note to them, thanking them. And then I also include, these are really, really cute, these little camera stickers. And I'll put one of those either on the back of the bag or on some of the packaging when they get it. So just, you know, dressing it up a little bit. They're pretty cute. I love them. And then the other thing I include is a document that has a whole bunch of handling and framing, matting and framing suggestions. So people just don't feel like, I have no idea what to do with this. They have some nice guidance on that. Many, many years ago, I was a picture framer for a couple years. It was right after I was in college. And I really value that knowledge, you know? So I just help people understand what their best glazing options are and their best options for how to mat it nicely. You know, things like don't press the print right up against glass because that could damage it over time. You want to have it separated from the glass a little bit. Just, you know, nice finishing touches like that. So yeah, this will get loosely rolled up and placed in a cardboard tube that's kind of a wide diameter cardboard tube, so it's not too rolled. And that is really the best, safest way to ship something like this. It's just so easy to damage it if it's shipped flat, you know? So yeah, cardboard tube seems to be the best, safest way to go. And that is my practice. So I want to show you another print that I made, a test print, and then printing on some glossier paper. So here is my little test, also on that Epsom Premium Presentation mat. and it looks pretty good. This is a photograph of some beautiful little teeny tiny white flowers in some dark bushes in the countryside in Japan. It's so simple. This photograph is so simple, but it just really pleases me. It just makes me happy. It's just quiet, you know, and I like that. So I tested it out on the Epson presentation matte cheapy paper. And then I tried it out on probably my favorite glossier paper of all time. And this is the Hanemule Fine Art Beretta paper. It's gorgeous. This is just, I mean, it really reminds me of darkroom fiber-based print, a glossy fiber-based darkroom paper. It has that same just stunning texture and beautiful sheen, really nice D-max, like the blacks look really rich and black. So yeah, I thought it would look gorgeous on that. So I tried it out small and liked it. And then I tried a big one, and you can probably see the like sheen of the paper, that beautiful texture, and the way the tones just really pop and glow. So yeah, this makes me happy. I think ultimately though, weirdly, I don't know, I usually like the darker prints on this glossier paper because blacks just tend to look better on a glossier paper. Matte papers can sometimes be like a little washed out looking with the blacks, you know, the blacks don't get as black. So I thought it would look richer and poppier on the Beretta, but I actually kind of think I like it better on something matte, even though this is just a cheap Epson paper. I think it actually works better, maybe just so you can see kind of more of the details in the subtle tones, the subtle gradations, and the glossy surface of the paper. It's not competing with the glossy surface somehow. Somehow it just seems easier to view on the matte. So I don't know. I think I'll make it on that same paper that we just printed the Guatemala image on, or I might try it on, I'll show you this other paper that I really like. Okay, so this is one of my top matte papers, and I love the one that we just printed the Guatemala piece on. This one's smoother, and for a darker image, this is really great because it has super beautiful D-max. Those blacks pop more on this paper than I think on any other matte paper I have tried. So for a dark image like this one, it's really perfect. I think it's gonna be a good choice. And then this is the Fine Art Brita. That is my favorite glossy paper for most things and for most dark images. So love this one so much. So, you know, making a choice about what paper to use, there's really no right answer, but I just like to test it on different papers and really see. And you can see here that this is just the cheap matte paper, but still you can see there's a real difference. This is the exact same file printed on these two papers. Here's our Beretta, which this is, you know, like a super high quality paper, but you can see that the blacks are richer on this one, right? And it would be better on a nicer matte paper, but still you can see we've got richer blacks here, but we have more detail in the midtones and highlights in this one. So you just have to compare, you know? You just have to kind of compare it and see what you like. Maybe you like more texture, maybe you like less. Here's the big Beretta print. Lots of just juicy blacks, beautiful texture on the paper. Look at that. Oh, I love this paper so much. But for this particular piece, it feels like too much. It's just not the right, it's not the right paper, and that's okay. So I think you really just do need to test a bunch of papers to see what you like and what you don't like, how much texture you like, how much contrast you like, if you like a warmer tone paper or a cooler tone paper, if you like a paper with optical brighteners to really make the whites pop, or you like a paper that is more sort of organic feeling and warmer as a base, you know? So yeah, a little testing is super duper helpful. There's not one right way, you know? But yeah, with this print, that I did a minute ago. I think that it looks really nice on this matte paper. The blacks are still really scrumptious, but the matte paper just looks great with the midtones and the highlights. So I often do my lighter toned images on a matte paper. And so that's why I chose that for this one instead of a glossier paper, because it has mostly light tones. And for me, that's just what works, but that might not be the thing that works for your taste, you know, and your images. So you just really need to play with it. But yeah, I'm happy with the way that turned out. Okay guys, so here is our little test print. Here is our finished piece. I think I made the test print 7.5 by 7.5 just to fit on an average letter size, you know, piece of paper, 8.5 by 11. And this one is our finished 10 by 10. I print this piece up to 16 by 16. It looks really nice at that size. But this collector was purchasing the print as a gift for her daughter. And I think 10 by 10 is kind of a nice size for a gift. You know, it's an easier thing to put up in a home, to find a wall for it. So yeah, it looks really nice at 10 by 10. Anyway, yeah, thanks for coming along on the journey of making this print. I hope that it's been helpful or useful to you in your own printing journey, or if you're thinking about it. It's, I think, really, really worth doing. I love printing, and once you get the hang of it, I mean, there's a learning curve with it, but it really is nice to be able to do it all on your own. So I recommend learning if you think you want to sell prints or make prints for friends and family, or just make your own prints. Like, you know, I like making work prints of everything that I do. These are often the prints that I have up here, are just prints that I'm sort of living with and thinking about. And these are test prints that I've made before I've sold prints, things like that. So they're sort of just like my work prints, you know, or prints that I've experimented on with, like paint, things like that. So yeah, it's nice to just have your images actually on paper so that you can just see them more clearly, think about them. I also really like using prints, small prints, to print out a whole bunch of different prints and then look at them for pairing them, you know, so like moving them around, thinking about building portfolios. It's really helpful to have little prints instead of just looking at everything on a monitor and, you know, tiny thumbnails or whatever. So if you're thinking about building a portfolio of images, it's super helpful to have little tiny prints to do that. And you can also get, you know, little prints made at the drugstore or at Costco, something like that. So they're really affordable and you don't need to learn printing as well. But yeah, if you're thinking about printing, I recommend it. And if you don't want to print, that's okay too, you know? At any rate, I hope that was helpful to see my prints, and yeah, thanks for joining me.
If you'd like to explore creative ideas like these in more depth as they relate to your own photography, there are many different ways to work with me. I have a series of online courses, most of which you can start as soon as you sign up. Some focus on the creative side of the practice, and some are more professional track classes. And I also do one-on-one mentoring with students around the world. That's where we'd meet on Zoom or phone and do a deep dive on your archives, on any challenges you're working through, your current projects and goals, and I'll help you gain clarity and momentum with those things. Mentoring will feel really helpful if you're stalled or unsure about your next steps. With all of my offerings, I bring 20 plus years as a curator, photographer, gallerist, professional portfolio reviewer, educator, and juror to the table. I give you all my best guidance and support. The links are below for all my current online classes and to schedule a mentoring session with me. And if you enjoyed this video, please share. It does help support the work I do. Okay, happy photographing out there. Be well.